Hey, I'm Butterfly.
Hey, I'm Firefly.
Have you ever wondered if we aren't being told the truth about everything?
What have we been lied to about? Join us as we have conversations and ask questions about everything. We invite you to keep an open mind and consider the unfathomable.
Let's break the chains that enslave our minds. Come on, let's go down the rabbit hole. Hey, Firefly, what's up?
What's up, Butterfly?
Oh my gosh, I'm excited to do this episode.
I am too. I'm really excited, but it's also kind of an annoying topic.
It's kind of icky.
I'm kind of over it.
I'm totally over it.
Like, what the hell?
I mean, are we already living in digital enslavement?
Yeah. Like
Hmm.
a social credit score, right?
Right.
We are.
You know,
We totally are.
it's
It's just a question of where is the teeth? Where do the teeth end in the social credit score?
yeah. So, um, we just kind of started doing this not too long ago, and I think we're already kind of finding a nice little audience, which is cool. Because we just, you know, we want to we want to be friends with people who want to hear the same kind of stuff that we're talking about, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and we know there's a lot of people out there like that, and that's why we started it.
that's right.
But it gets like kind of frustrating, we started some social media stuff like Instagram and posting out there just to get the word out to let more people know about our episodes. And what can be frustrating is that like they have these algorithms where they control like how many people and who's going to see your stuff.
That's right. And
It's
then
really
some
weird.
influencer will just all of a sudden be artificially just 10 million views.
Like overnight. Oh, it went viral. I've got like 10 million followers.
I've got 40 million followers and 10 million views. It's like, but you got nothing to say,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
Yeah. So, so we started our Instagram page like probably maybe a month ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Probably about
probably.
that. Yeah.
And we have 13 followers.
Which you think, I mean, I can't be that unpopular.
Yeah. So like I remember I started.
That sounds like artificially unpopular.
It's artificially unpopular.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
where they've gone like the opposite direction. So,
Like you could probably get more views from that by just coming out and saying F you to every single person in the audience
yeah,
and probably get more views than that.
you get like 10,000 views.
At least.
So, like, I remember I started an Instagram, kind of like, I guess it was around the beginning of the cooties fiasco.
Cooties.
I like to call it the cooties fiasco because that's
Well,
exactly
you've
what it
actually
was.
you've trained me to
Yeah.
be practiced in calling it cooties.
Yeah.
Because why? Why are we having to call it cooties?
Because it's like, ew, it's like germs or something. They don't even know what
No,
it
no,
is.
no. But I'm saying, like, there's
Oh,
some Indian guy in Silicon Valley that
yeah.
goes, "Excuse me, they said that word that begins with C and ends in D that we used a lot
Yeah.
about 5 years ago.
You are not allowed to say
Do
that.
not say that word unless you're saying it for the right reasons."
If we hear you saying that, we know we have to shut you up.
The way that it works, Butterfly, is you have to say that word in the proper context, which means drinking our Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
In the context of Kool-Aid, you may say that word.
In science.
Yes. But if you say that word in red pill, that is banned.
Exactly. So, yeah. So anyway, it's cooties, and
Red
it
pill,
was a fiasco.
red pill is a language.
Totally.
Red pill's a
Yeah. You know what?
language.
That's so funny. It's like a code language that we kind of have to learn.
Yes.
I had a secret code in when I was in high school
Yeah.
with my best friend. We made up this whole secret it was like an alphabet that we used
Yeah.
with all these like little codes and symbols, and we used to because we used to like to pass notes. We didn't have cell phones.
You know what I was just thinking?
You know what I mean? And
There's probably at least one dude that if he found your note and decoded it, he'd be like devastated.
oh,
So what you guys are saying about
probably, but I'll tell you a funny story. So we passed notes in class all the time because we had to like had urgent information that we needed to share with each other like right then. And so we had like this code that we used so that if at any time one of our notes got intercepted, nobody would be able to read it. And it happened one day that the teacher saw us doing this and he was like, come here. And he wanted me to come up to the front of the class and give him the note.
Yeah.
And so I gladly did.
Ah,
I walked up and gave it to him and I sat down and I looked and he opened it up and he was getting ready to read it out loud and he was just shocked. Like he was like, what is this? Some kind of code? Read it. It was
you're like,
hilarious.
it is a code, but you're not going to
It
decode
was
it.
so funny. So anyway, I think having a good code is important when you have to like bypass the gatekeepers.
Did you ever
You know what I
see
mean?
Monty Python, The Holy Grail?
I
I
think
think it was The
so.
Holy Grail or his Life of Brian, where the teacher is teaching sex ed, and all of a sudden the chalkboard becomes like a bed,
Oh,
and he starts having sex with a lady, and he's like showing the high school guys like how to have sex,
oh.
and he's like, and then you mount the woman. Excuse me. Are you paying attention? And then like one of the kids passes a note. He's like, excuse me, bring that here. He's like still like mounting the woman and having sex with her. He's like, bring that here. And he's like, bring the note. That kind of reminded me of that when he
Yeah,
got caught passing the note. But that's kind of how we have to do.
we do.
Like we have to
We
like
have to.
pass notes.
We have to. But anyway, so I think we're unnaturally what did you call it?
Unpopular.
Unpopular.
We're kind of like
We're
inorganically unpopular.
inorganically unpopular.
I
Like
mean,
we're like it's like obviously like we've been made to be unpopular.
we could not possibly be shunned
We
this
could
bad.
not possibly be this unpopular.
You know what they should call it? Instead of shadow banned, you're not really shadow banned. You're kind of shadow shunned.
Shadow shunned.
Yeah,
Yeah, but so anyway, I
because you're not banned. They're like, by all means, go ahead and post it. We're just not going to show it to
do
you.
what you want, but nobody's gonna see it.
We're going to shun you.
Yeah. So I started noticing that like I would put out our little posts on Instagram and like two people would see them. And I'm like, okay, there's like 8 trillion people on Instagram. I think probably more than two people would be able to see this.
It's so
You know what
clearly
I
being
mean?
throttled.
So, because like I started to tell you, I started an Instagram like in the beginning of the Cooties fiasco, and like within a week, I had like 100 followers, and I was just posting like funny memes.
Yeah.
And then like a week later, I had like 200 more, and like within like a couple months, I had like 800 followers, and I was just posting like funny memes about the cooties.
See, that goes to
And then
show that even then, because you were saying bad
I
stuff.
was saying bad stuff, and then all of a sudden, so it was like growing, and so I was like, "Wow, like this is amazing." And then, so at that rate, like exponentially, like after a couple more months, I should have had like probably double that. You know what I mean? And like, because it's like the more you
You would
have,
think.
the more. Well, then all of a sudden, one day, I had like none. And then like another week went by, no new followers. And then like 3 more weeks went by and I had like 3 new followers. So it showed me
There was some
obviously,
Indian guy in
it
like
was so
he was like
obvious.
in San Jose in like some
Uh-huh.
apartment complex, and he was like, "Oh, excuse me, butterfly. We noticed that you were having some traction there for a little while,
Uh-huh.
but you were having traction is saying stuff that was not blue pill.
Right.
So
We don't like that.
we're going to have to erase your followers, and now we're going to kind of erase your whole presence online.
Right. And that's what they did.
And now what we're kind of asking is, okay, so they're kind of throttling our presence online.
Hmm.
So they're meddling.
They're meddling.
They're not letting the algorithm be organic.
Right. They don't like what we're saying, so
They don't want to,
we
yeah.
have free-ish speech.
Which makes me feel like, hey, that's kind of encouraging. That means that the cult is afraid of us.
The cult is afraid of us.
Because if they allowed it to be organic, they would just be like, you guys aren't popular. Go ahead and say what you want. We rule.
Yeah.
But no, we would be popular. It would be organically popular if there was a natural algorithm. But instead, they're like, well, let's just make sure we throttle it. I don't think they're going to be able to play whack-a-mole with us.
No.
This is what I think.
They don't know butterfly very well.
They don't know. You're not going to put up with that. Although I think the way that we grow around it,
Mhm.
I don't think we're going to be able to win the war of stop it. And they're just going to go, okay. Now you might, because they're going to be like, whoa, I don't know if we can do this to butterfly. They might just capitulate to you. But what I was thinking is we're like a little Chinese restaurant in
Mhm,
like a little neighborhood,
mhm.
and people are going to come check it out. And if the food is good every single time, and I mean, you can listen to our show for free, so the value is good.
It's pretty good, yeah.
So
I mean,
then I think people are going to be like, yeah, you should check it out. And that's how we're going to find our audience is people talking about us. Just,
totally.
you know, and I would want that to be the case anyways. I
Right.
wouldn't want to be artificially foisted,
No.
but it's kind of annoying that they can't just let the algorithm be organic.
Right. I mean, that's my point. It's kind of like so blatantly obvious
You
that
know what it's like? It's like, remember
it's
when you went out
annoying.
to the
It's
island?
like irritating.
Remember when you went out to the island and
Uh-huh.
they're like, these are invasive.
Yeah.
And these
We
birds,
decide what's invasive.
and these
These
birds,
are bad.
these birds have to go. And we're gonna like tag him and put these things on his feet so we can keep track of him. And he's voted off the island. That's
Literally, it's been voted off.
it's like it's like a bird reality show, and
Totally.
he got
That's
voted
a
off.
total bird reality show. Yeah. But okay, so what this whole thing actually like, it started making me think about something though. Um, this term shadow banning, which is what's happening to us like on Instagram and YouTube, by the way.
Shadow show.
Instagram and YouTube are like they're really bad. But what this made me start to think about is, okay, are we already living in a digital enslavement? And what happens when shadow banning in your social media life crosses into your real life?
Yes.
Because um,
How far down the line is that?
how far down the line is it? I don't think it's very far. And I know we've talked before, and we have to keep talking about the digital system and the
Did you see that thing out of China where the guy jaywalked and they had his like picture on a big billboard and he goes, "Here's Yen. He's a
yeah.
scumbag."
Yeah, totally. So I mean that's what
That's where we're headed.
that's where we're headed.
That's what they want. And like a lot of people are like, that sounds good.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
They're either like, that sounds good, I like that, or they're like, what? They have no idea. So
Or they're like, who cares? But
they're
it kind of sucks for Yen because now you're like, well, I can't use public transportation. I
yeah.
can't get a job.
They're like, who cares? Or they're like, well, I don't jaywalk, so it's not going to affect me. But it's like, I think people don't realize like they can move the goalpost or change the rules whenever they want. And when,
You're not in the club.
yeah. And
So they're going to eventually start like eliminating you.
exactly. And what this kind of makes me think about is that like, so in the virtual world where you may be shadow banned, like that might be one thing, but could you be shadow banned in real life?
Like in Black Mirror. Remember that
Yeah.
chick? She starts going like a downward spiral
Yeah.
and freaking out and
Yeah.
like trying to like attend like a real like in crowd wedding. Like that was important.
Right.
Remember?
But I mean, I'm not even talking about something like that. I'm talking about like, you know, day to day things that you need. Like, at some point, so on Instagram, they might turn a few switches and shift their algorithm so like, oh, nobody can see your posts, whatever. But in real life, what they will be able to do is make a few tweaks and then like you can't get gas in your car or your card doesn't work at the grocery
It's a
store.
real ID.
You can't buy groceries.
What if
The
you're
real ID.
what if you go get your real ID because it's like, well, I want to fly.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna go get my real ID. But now your real ID isn't just all your ID, but it's also got your social credit score like built into it.
totally. And all
And
your
also
medical
your
records.
medical records.
And your carbon footprint.
And then
That's going to be on there.
remember that app Yucca? And I
Yeah.
was talking about how people could take like pictures of their, you know what, and then like get like what if that rating goes in your like real ID too?
Yeah.
So like
That might be helpful for some people.
some people, it's like you sit in the special part of the plane because we'll just leave it at that. But like that's what I'm thinking is happening.
Well,
They're trying to implement that more and more, and
they
people
are.
kind of are sleepwalking into it.
People are sleepwalking their way into it. They're roaming their way off to their demise. And I think, that real ID is super dangerous, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. And you don't need it. You can use a passport to fly. You don't need that digital real ID.
When they start having to collect a lot of different data sets on you,
Hmm.
that's not a good sign.
It's not good, and people are like, oh, nothing to hide, so whatever. Well, what we keep trying to point out is like you might think you have nothing to hide today, but next week
Well, this is the
they
thing.
might decide that what you think you're not hiding is something they don't want you to hide.
Our You and I's reading of the tea leaves
Mhm.
is that the cult wants us to shut up and die.
Right.
So if we know that they want you to shut up and die, remember Stalin? He was
Mhm.
like, "Show me the man, I'll show you the crime."
Right. Totally.
They're eventually going to disimplement that.
Mhm.
So you kind of think, well, I think that gay people are great, and Ukraine flags in my front yard. Well, that doesn't save you ad infinitum into the future,
Right.
because once the culling begins, then they're just going to find a reason to cull you.
Mhm.
Show me a man, show me the man, I'll show you the crime. They will find a way. They'll make a new law that says what you're doing and what you kind of need to do every day is against the law.
Yeah.
So
Having grass in your front yard is against the law now.
yeah,
So you're going to jail.
they're
Straight
gonna
to jail.
straight to jail. It's worked out very good in my country. So I think that's what people don't see, the slippery slope, which
Yeah.
is really dumb.
The slippery slope is what it is.
You know what I think people kind of have? The people that kind of don't mind it coming in is they're kind of like the people who would say, "Sir, you don't have your mask. You got to get out,"
Mhm.
and they love that.
Well, it's because they have their 5 minutes of power,
So
right?
they're kind of like, "Let's bring this in. This will give me my 5 minutes of power."
And maybe I'll get 10 minutes.
But they don't realize that the Bolshevik Revolution, when that took place, the ones that were the traitors that turned in their countrymen were
Right.
the first ones
They
that
were
got,
the first ones. They
you
ran them
know.
right under the bus.
So that's
Yeah,
kind of
because they
the,
didn't want traitors,
you know what
you
I'm
know?
saying.
Yeah.
Well, the social credit score and the minions that go along with it, it's all controlled by the media.
Mhm.
All controlled by the media.
Mhm.
So the media is pushing out their narratives, and you have to fit into their narratives.
Right.
So what I think it's coming down to right now is the media is foisting a worldview on you, and if you don't swallow that, your social credit score is going to be zero, zero. It's not like, oh, it's going to take a hit because of that opinion. No, it's going to get to the point where it's like, you can't buy food, and we're just going to let you starve to death in your house.
Right.
And we just mailed you a coffee. It's coming.
They might not even do that.
They mail you your coffee.
Too nice.
How
They'll
about
just send you a scarf.
yeah, yeah, the scarf. If you get a scarf or a coffin in the mail, it's like
That's a bad sign.
they're just kind of
That's a
recommending.
bad sign.
They're like, you have a few days.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think that what we're talking about with this shadow banning, I think it's sort of a metaphor for what's happening in real life. Not just your virtual digital life.
Like, do you think there's any ramifications to talking bad about that country from 1948?
Oh, for sure.
You think that
Straight to jail.
straight to jail?
Hmm.
It's worked really well in my country. I think that's pretty much what's going on.
Yeah.
So remember how we were talking about how you can kind of define the agenda by what you're not allowed to talk about?
Right.
So Earth modification,
Hmm.
that country from 1948,
Cooties.
cooties.
Hmm.
There's very
Pokey pokes.
the pokey pokes. Now, see, you're starting to see kind of the goalposts.
Yeah.
You play inside those lines.
Yeah. Don't talk about those other things. You can talk
Well, you
about,
can talk about them in you can admire them.
yeah. But even mentioning them is somewhat dangerous because I think the algorithms, like
Yeah.
the
Well, someone
the
like Dr.
bots in
Fauci,
India, they hear the words and they're like, "Uh-oh."
well, like if you say the C word that they call that disease,
Mhm.
if you say that word, it probably like 9 times out of 10 online is going to conjure up some kind of criticism of the cult,
Right.
because everything was just so disgusting about that disease that
Mhm.
came out with the C and the D and the 19 after. Everything was disgusting about it.
So gross.
So they're like, just don't even talk about it.
Yeah.
Just forget. You know what? That's why they want Groundhog Day syndrome. Remember the Groundhog Day syndrome?
Yeah, that was a great episode. Have we posted that one yet?
Yeah, I gotta look.
We
Maybe
did.
we'll have
That's
to do.
a good one.
So in the Groundhog Day scenario, it's like everybody kind of the blue pill has turned them into Dory
Yeah.
from
They
Finding
don't know
Dory.
what happened yesterday. or even 5 minutes ago.
So they're like, "What are you talking about that disease? I've
Yeah,
never even heard of that."
most people have forgotten most of it by now. 'Cause
You're like, "But
there's
why are you wearing a mask?"
yeah,
Well, Doctor Fauci said we should wear masks,
yeah.
but I don't
I
know.
don't really know why.
Yeah, I've been wearing one for like 5 years. I don't remember why, but can I help you? You know? I
Totally.
think that's how they want us.
Yeah, I think so.
But so what we're kind of saying is, okay, we need to kind of have an understanding of the circumstances. Like, you ever heard that term situational awareness?
Yeah,
That's what we need to have.
yeah.
We need to understand that we're kind of in a war. I think it's a war.
Mhm.
It's a war, but they're just like, well, we like censor and do people.
Yeah. And we and we don't we believe in free speech, but free speech has
It's
its limits.
free-ish.
It's free-ish.
We just told you the
Yeah.
goalposts.
So
You're free
you're free
in
to
there.
talk about this stuff, but you're not free to talk about this other stuff. So it's free.
It's
It's
like
free for that stuff.
when a running back gets the football, can he just run anywhere in the stadium? No, he's got to kind of stay like in bounds. Otherwise, it doesn't
Um,
count anymore.
yeah, it's like the baseball players can't like run outside the line
You
either.
can't go outside of the
Like try
baseline.
to get away from the
You
guy.
got to stay in the baseline.
Yeah.
You got to stay. What do they call it? The baseline?
Yeah.
They call it stay in the baseline.
Mhm.
If you go out of the baseline, you're out.
Yeah. You can't just like run around the whole field trying to get away. It's not like tag.
So it's kind of like we're kind of being like playing a game.
Yeah, totally.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like, so I don't want to play a game.
No.
Sometimes I don't want to play games. See, the thing about baseball is you go play the game and then the game ends and everybody go gets a beer and pizza.
Yeah.
Now it's like, no, the game never ends.
Yeah. It's
You
like
live
never
in the
ending.
game.
Yeah. Maybe we are living in a game.
We're living in a game.
Totally.
And there's like the game masters.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like
Kind of like the Hunger Games, actually.
it's like Richard Dawson.
It's a lot like the Hunger Games.
Remember Richard Dawson that used to do the Family Feud?
Yeah, totally.
He's kind of like the MC
With his really long, skinny microphone.
like kind of being almost like sexually inappropriate with all the ladies.
Yeah.
You know, come here, sweetie, let me kiss you as I grabbing her boob. But anyways, like Richard Dawson is kind of like the guy guiding us through this game, and he's like the media narrator.
Yeah,
narrator.
He's the anchor, the news anchor.
Right? And he's guiding you, and he's telling you where to go, and people are just going, okay, okay.
Yeah.
But what if you reject the media? What if you say, I reject the media? I think what they're saying is, well, I'm sorry, but it's kind of like Soylent Green.
It's people.
If you say, I reject the media, they go, they said they're sorry, but they've said that you have become unreliable.
Mm.
You're unreliable now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a game. Can we? So I'm thinking, we have two choices. We can just say, you know what? Let's just give it up. Let's just go along with them.
Let's take a blue pill.
It's going to be, yeah, you would have to.
It'll be easier. Mm-hmm. But you know what?
You go on a cruise.
Yeah, go to the buffet line.
Go to a buffet and just eat ourselves into oblivion.
But you know what? You and I think so many other people are not like that. And we're not content to just be like, okay, whatever, I'm going to take a blue pill. It's fine. We want to talk about what's going on. And I think a lot of other people do as well. And so
yeah.
I think by us having this show, we're just sharing ideas. And I think there's a lot of other people who probably would like to hear that there's other people thinking the same kind of things, or at least it might open their eyes to some of this stuff that we're talking about.
Well, I think the analogy that you're kind of touching on is 200 views is awesome.
Yeah.
Because it's 200 people who are alive. They're not walkers.
Right.
Like in Walking Dead, when you found somebody who was alive, it was like, dude, this person's an asset.
Yeah.
Look at this person's still living.
Yeah.
They're not a walker.
And so we see, we've got people listening on like Rumble and stuff. And then we look over and there's nobody home at Instagram or YouTube. It's just on those huge platforms. So it's so obviously being manipulated and controlled. And because it's just not realistic.
Does he if Charlie Kirk goes and says some ridiculous thing? Like I saw him, he was like, there was a post of him, he was like yelling at some Mexican chick and he was like, I'm right. And then that got 10 billion views.
Yeah, totally. That's how it is. So I wonder how is that allowed?
He's kind of like, what if Charlie Kirk was made in the lab? And he's like, just like there, he's got no will of his own.
Uh-huh.
He just goes out and just goes, I'm programmed for this. I'm yelling at a Mexican chick.
And I'm always right.
I'm right. Always. So he's serving blue pills.
Mhm.
That's what he's doing. And so if you're serving blue pills, you're going to get foisted on everybody.
Yeah. Well, I think,
That's what's going on.
yeah,
If you serve blue pills, you're going to get foisted on everybody.
right. If you
If you're
serve
serving red pills, you're like, no.
ixnay. Yeah.
It'd
Yeah.
be like if you go to like some kindergartner's birthday party and you start handing out acid.
Oh,
Like
jeez.
the mom would probably be like, can you not,
Yeah.
because we're kind of handing out acid. We're going here, check this out.
Yeah.
The red pill is going to be gnarly.
Yeah. But it's the truth.
It's the truth.
I mean, it's the questions we're asking.
That's why people want the blue pill because the red pill is gnarly.
Right.
You're going to have to come to terms with reality, and reality's really kind of devastating.
Sometimes. But like we talked about, I think it was a couple episodes ago, our dials go to 11.
Yes.
And we don't shy away from the rabbit holes.
We're going to go where it goes.
We're going to go where the rabbit hole goes.
And we're always white pill too, because no matter how gnarly or devastating it seems, it's always like, okay, but what's the solution? How do we get around this?
Exactly.
There's always a solution.
So it may be gnarly, but like we're not afraid. We know that we can find a solution, and also there's safety in numbers. I remember when I was a kid, I was in this little troop. This was like the Bluebirds or something. And we went on some camping trips.
Girl Scouts?
It wasn't Girl Scouts. It was a different organization, but it was similar to that. And our troop leader always told us to have the buddy system.
Did you guys sell cookies?
We sold candy and like these really popular peanuts that were like toffee peanuts.
Did you see how expensive?
So
Did you see how expensive the Girl
Scout
Scout cookies?
Cookies are outrageous now.
Dude, it was like $8.
It's like inflation.
There was like, the mint chocolate ones?
Those are really good.
So it comes with like maybe 20 cookies.
Yeah.
It was like
$1 a cookie.
It was like $8.
50 cents. You know what? I heard that like each troop gets like 10 cents out of those sales. It's really gross.
So some administrator.
They probably do better off like having a lemonade stand.
You know who's probably the administrator? Some lesbian.
Yeah, probably.
And she's probably like, where are the Girl Scouts? Anyways, I digress.
Anyway, I remember our troop leader always said, have the buddy system. Like if you have to go to the bathroom or whatever, you always have the buddy system. If there's like 2 people at least together, you're safer than going alone. And I
see, they didn't teach dudes that.
I always remember
dudes was like, dude, just go.
Yeah, but I always remember that because there is safety in numbers.
Yeah.
And if more people realize that, there's more of us and we can all get the word out about.
Well, that's what's cool about our show, I think, is we're saying the stuff that a lot of people are thinking, but they don't want to talk about.
Right.
Because remember when we first
Maybe they don't have any friends they can talk to about it with.
Pretty much.
Because that's kind of...
That was why I was like so stoked when I first met you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember when we first met during the Cooties, it was in the early part of Cooties, and you couldn't really talk to a lot of people about how we really felt.
Yeah.
It was kind of like...
And it was like hard to find people to like that actually thought those things.
I had to bite my tongue or get into a gnarly argument.
Yeah.
And I was like, but then when you found somebody who agreed with you,
it was so
like,
exciting.
It was like, oh, awesome. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Totally. Yeah. So I think that's exciting. And I think it's cool that, we have people listening on some of the platforms. But it just it makes it so glaringly obvious on those other platforms how blatant that they're really trying to shadow ban us.
It makes it feel like we're living in a video game.
Yeah. Living in 1984, actually.
Yeah.
That book.
A video game that's based on 1984.
Right. Yeah. Like they're trying as hard as they can to keep people from finding out about us.
And they're like, you will play the game.
And it's not going to work.
I don't think so. I don't believe that. I'm white-pilled. I think that you're not going to be able to stop our movement. I feel like truth, like we were talking about, truth, a lie goes around the world before truth can put its pants on.
I love that.
So why is that? Truth takes its time.
Mm-hmm.
what we are, I mean, I'm not trying to be pretentious, but we're truth.
Mhm.
We're not saying we know everything,
We're real.
but we're being real and we're being honest and we're trying to ask questions that, okay, I really am inquisitive about, is Trump in bed with this country from 1948 and is everything we're watching a movie?
Yeah.
Like, for instance, they really hate that idea.
Mhm.
You probably get really
So
banned for that.
like we were saying before, like when they tell you not to talk about something, you kind of have to ask why. So they really hate that idea. They don't want you talking about that. Well, why?
Like, let's say
You
that
know?
I went on Alex Jones' show today and I just went on there and, you know, Alex loves kind of the fear porn that's out there right now because it's like James Comey threatened to assassinate Trump. That's the
That's the
news.
story.
So what if I went on his show and I said, that's all a script. Trump's an actor, Comey's an actor.
Oh, he would get really agitated.
He'd be like, yeah. He would be really dismissive of that.
Mhm.
And it'd be like, that's not coloring in the lines.
Right.
You can be a conspiracy theorist and color inside the lines.
Only so far.
Yeah.
It's like, but we're like, no, because our dials go to 11.
Our dials go to 11.
We go down every rabbit hole.
Yeah, like Alex Jones, he like takes you like 75% down, and then he goes, okay, and
He
now
takes the
here's your blue
exit.
pill, and then you can just kind of don't think about that anymore.
Uh-huh.
This is as far as it goes.
Yeah,
It's Chicons and globalists.
totally. Yeah. So
Anyways, I was just thinking, you're not allowed to think outside the box. The box is the media,
mhm.
you know?
And I think when people like us start talking about thoughts that are outside the lines, that really ruffles their feathers.
Have you ever met somebody where when you meet them on a one-on-one basis, they're one person, but then when they get in like a group or they start getting like into a social setting, they become a completely different kind of person?
Yeah. It's weird.
I think
It's
that
super weird.
that's very prevalent in
Mhm.
America.
Yeah.
And because I've met a lot of people who are like that,
Yeah.
where on a one-on-one basis, they're totally cool and they're totally like, relatable and sincere even.
Mhm.
But then in social settings, they just turn into this like media product.
Mhm.
And I think that on a one-on-one basis, people probably like what we're saying. But what social media says is, oh, are you going to associate yourself with them? Because then you're going to get tarnished too.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's the kind of like peer pressure. It's like peer pressure.
Well, social media is kind of a whole peer pressure type of thing.
It
It's
feels
about
like
the
we
followers. You're a
dude,
follower.
social media feels like, look, I mean, I'm older now. I don't need to be in 10th grade anymore.
Yeah, I
Did
don't.
we ever graduate
Yeah,
from 10th grade?
I don't think so. It's kind of sad. Like I remember going to a high school reunion and um all of this people were still hanging out in their little cliques from high school and they were like what you were talking about just then, how people act differently in their when they're in a social group.
Yeah.
I witnessed that. Like some people that I had run into on, in daily occurrences, and they were totally fine. They were acting really weird, like in their little social group. And I was like, that's so bizarre. Like,
Their tone is different.
yeah.
They're not prone to making jokes and laughing. You're not allowed to act like a dork.
But you know what? Those people they're just not real.
They're not.
They're not real or authentic.
You know what I
I
think
think
it
it's
is?
really hard to find real, authentic people.
You know why? Because they're real and authentic when you meet them on a one-on-one
Mhm.
basis. But when they get into that social setting, they have to take their cues from the media.
And conform.
They're not allowed to think for themselves. They have to go, okay, how do I behave now? Because you know what? It's like there's a lot riding on this. I have to maintain my social credit score.
Right. Totally. Yeah. And so a lot of people, like you said, they're just going to go along with all of the digital demands and they're going to be totally fine with it and just be like walking right off the cliff.
And we've
But
talked about that.
yeah,
The blue pill leads to your demise.
yeah.
And that's what those people are doing. So when they're sincere and they're cool, when you meet them at McDonald's and you're just like having a quick conversation while you're waiting for your fries, they're so cool. And you're like, oh my God, let's get together again really quick. But then when you go to the reunion and they're with all of the clique,
Hmm.
they have this like they have this like social credit score that they have to maintain.
Yeah.
And that takes the precedence
Mhm.
between like being sincere.
Right.
And I think that's prevalent. And I think that kind of pertains to our show
It does.
because what you're going to have to do in order to hang out with us is be willing to be stigmatized.
Mm. Mhm.
It'd be like if, okay, so you got the click, right?
Mhm.
But then you go hang out with somebody who's not in the in crowd. It's like, why are you hanging out with Brian?
Brian's such a dork.
He's a dork. Why are you hanging out with him? You're a cheerleader. You need to know better. You're giving him social credit score.
And then but then I'm like, "But Brian's really nice." And they're like, "No, no, no.
Who cares if he's
It
nice?
doesn't matter."
Life is a video game and you manage your social credit score, and that's what you do until you die.
Right. I think that's what, oh man, it's such a good point. I think that's what all of the social media, like Instagram and those places, what they are encouraging and kind of forcing people to do.
Yeah.
They want you to conform. They want you to be like they have their little cliques, and if they don't like what you're doing or saying, they're not going to allow you to be like in the in
You
crowd.
can get stigmatized.
Mhm.
And that's a horrible fate for most Americans to be stigmatized and to be rejected by the in crowd.
Mhm.
Like, that's why the dude who's got the fat girlfriend, he loves hanging out with her at home. She's really good in bed and she cooks and she takes good care of him. But when he goes out in public, he goes by himself because he doesn't want to be stigmatized and kicked out of the in crowd. So he kind of hides it that he's even with her. He kind of shows up at like 11 at night and just kind of jumps in bed with her and then leaves early so people don't know he's actually with her.
That's so sad.
I know. Damn it. But I'm saying that mentality, that's
Yeah,
kind of what it is.
that's what it is.
It's managing your social credit score,
yeah.
even when you're kind of betraying yourself because you like her and you want to hang out with her, but you're like, you're bad for my social credit score. So I'm just going to do this on the down low.
Yeah. So are we all basically it's like we're living in an episode of Black Mirror.
I think,
You
yeah.
know what
And
I
I
mean?
think, I think what I'm kind of putting
I think
forth is
that's like a
that
metaphor for real life.
the social credit score is already in place.
Yeah.
We haven't officially inaugurated it and ushered it in.
Do you think they'll announce it?
No, I think they'll just be like, after it's been in place,
Like a big celebration.
I think what'll happen is like 10 years after you're in a prison, they're going to go, by the way, this is the social credit score.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, oh, I knew that about 10 years ago. They're like, yeah, we just didn't want to announce that
Yeah.
because we don't want people to get agitated. Remember, that was what they have this news story that I was reading today. And uh, this Muslim guy was in somewhere in Europe. He was like in court, and he probably just walked up and just raped some chick and just said it wasn't a sexual emergency. And then so he's in court, and he's this Afghan guy in court in like Germany or whatever, and he goes, his interpreter was a woman, and he goes, I don't want woman out,
Oh gosh.
and they kicked her out.
Oh wow.
So, it's like, yeah, it's like, oh, okay, they capitulate. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Totally.
So they'll like let that guy do that because, it's all just a big video game.
Human rights.
It's like, well, it's part of his culture. It was a sexual emergency. You have to understand. And then he doesn't want to have a woman interpreter. In their culture, women are like less than. They have to walk like 7 feet behind and wear like a beekeeper's outfit. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so it's weird because there's all these arbitrary rules, and it's like totally like um, there's teeth now.
Mm-hmm.
There's teeth, but the teeth are weird how it works. It's basically you have to drink the Kool-Aid, and
Right.
you have to drink the Kool-Aid,
And serve the Kool-Aid.
and you have to serve the Kool-Aid if you would.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you guys want to have a podcast, that's great. Please serve Kool-Aid or die.
Right. Shut up and serve the Kool-Aid.
Shut up and serve the Kool-Aid. You don't have to shut up. If you're serving Kool-Aid, go ahead and talk.
Yeah.
Like if you're Charlie Kirk, go ahead and talk.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Charlie Kirk is Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He's just a different flavor.
He's a different flavor. He's the blue. He's the red Kool-Aid.
Right.
And you know how he's like going out and having these ridiculous arguments with like college,
college
liberal.
students. Yeah.
Those are ridiculous, like meaningless arguments.
Yeah.
Those people are young, and when they get out in the real world and have kids and start living, they're going to change their worldview. See, we who cares?
You know what? One of my really good friends told me this little phrase one time, and it really stuck with me. Um, she said, "Vote Republican in your 20s, and you haven't got a heart. Vote
Yeah,
Democrat in your 40s, and you haven't got a brain."
that's right.
And it kind of totally makes sense because, when you're in your 20s, you want to like help the world, you want to save people.
Why do we have to have money?
Yeah.
Why can't everything
Right.
just be free? We don't need money.
Yeah, you think everything's gonna be great, all these like crazy little
We could
ideas
just
sound
create wampum. Like I could just bring weed and you bring food and we just have a party.
it all sounds great, but then by the time you get to your 40s, hopefully you have some life experience and you realize all those great lofty ideas usually just never really work
You
out,
know when you kind of
and
start to realize
you actually need like some rules, and you need to not be paying all your income in
like
taxes and stuff.
finance kind of drives a lot of really good behaviors
Hmm.
because like if somebody is just their experience is just paid for,
Yeah.
there some people are not going to do anything.
Right.
They're not going to lift a finger
Right.
to help
Right.
at all.
Yeah.
And then it's like that kind of runs into a problem.
Yeah. But when you have to work, and make a living and maybe have your own business,
You know what's
have some
gnarly?
kids, you have
Once you have a kid,
responsibilities, and
once you have a kid and you become a good dad or a good mom, and you actually have to like come to the realization of the workload that is a parent, that kind of changes people's worldview. I notice it's like,
it
wow,
does.
the workload that is on me is gnarly. And now I'm starting to get mad at people who just sit around and F off all day.
Yeah, you start to get mad and frustrated about people that are not working, and you're working so hard, and half your income is going to taxes so that that person can sit around and do nothing. And so I think that's kind of what that phrase brings to mind, is that most people, hopefully by the time they get into their 40s, they start thinking these things through a little better, and they realize that those plans never really work out, like the way that they make them sound so great.
You know what I noticed too is um, people who are red pilled are good for their kids
Hmm.
because people who are blue pilled, they have kind of a fatalistic, almost like nihilism.
Totally.
They're just like, I don't really care about the future. Let's just go on a cruise.
Right.
Let's go on a family
And
cruise.
it's kind of what the narrative sells to those people too, is that, the world's going to end, and, because of earth modification
How
and
many
stuff.
how many Netflix shows have you seen that are like some bleak dystopia?
Totally. It's all really like total dystopia, like annihilation. Like, it's all, and they terrify these college students with earth modification.
Like weren't you
They don't
watching
think that like they're
weren't
going
you
to have
watching
heart
Younger?
attacks from that
Weren't
stuff.
you watching Younger?
Hmm.
And Younger is like supposed to be now,
Right.
but it feels like a bleak dystopia. I think the blue pill leads to like as hopeless, bleak dystopia.
Where nobody like can find like anybody to really be with.
And that's what I brought up the Afghan dude in Germany for.
Oh, okay.
So the reason that the woman had to be removed
Hmm.
is so he wouldn't get agitated.
Oh,
Because
we can't have that.
remember like
He
that.
might go rape somebody again.
That's right. He might have a sexual emergency from being agitated, but and then if you rape somebody in the courtroom and she's wearing a miniskirt, she deserved it.
Right.
So anyways, the reason that they had to remove the woman immediately is because they don't want him to get agitated.
Hmm.
I think it's really important that you don't get agitated.
Right.
The Soma, and then like remember the Anne Rice where the lady goes and visits the lady in the mental hospital,
Hmm.
and they're like, "Why are you on such a heavy dose of psychotropic drugs? We don't want her to get agitated."
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of part of it too. It's
Hmm.
like we don't want you to get mad.
They don't want people agitated. That's a really good point. And I think they might see Butterfly and Firefly as like maybe people that
Instigating.
people that might be instigators. We might
We
be
might kind of poke people.
we might be doing some poking, and other people might go, yeah, Yeah, and then it might get people agitated.
Well, like we're kind of agitated that we're being shadow banned.
Yeah.
We're not like freaking out and having sexual emergency rape, but we're also kind of making it known that I'm not cool with this
Yeah.
and I'm an American.
Yeah.
Americans don't like having to put up with stuff they don't like.
Yeah.
They usually raise their voice.
I don't really like being told what to do or when to do it.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I can make up my own mind about what I want to do.
Like I'm kind of decided like this. Like I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and if I'm gonna get killed for that, I think I'm happy to die on that hill.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm gonna get killed for that.
No,
I think I'm gonna prevail.
totally.
I think we're gonna win.
I think so too.
It's a video game.
Yeah.
It's like Zelda,
Yeah.
and we got to beat the boss level.
Yeah.
And then when you win, you get like a big bag of food or whatever.
Totally.
The Renaissance.
Like Pac-Man, and you had to eat like the cherries and the dots.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And once in a while, you get a cherry or a strawberry, and it's like super exciting.
Here we go. Yeah. Oh man, the video games are great back then. But what if victory for us means Renaissance?
I think that's what we're talking about.
Because
This is going to be a renaissance.
we're kind of and so but if it's going to be a renaissance, what does that mean we're in now? The dark ages,
Yeah.
kind of like the middle ages. We kind of feels like we're in the dark ages.
Yeah, where like the people were like really dirty and they were walking through the dirt streets. There's like rats running through the streets and there's like sewer like floating down the road.
Like
There's a lot of sewer just floating around everywhere.
Yeah, like the Black Plague and like the Inquisition.
Yeah.
Only the Inquisition isn't being carried out by like Spanish monks and stuff. It's like Indian dudes.
Yeah.
They're like,
wasn't the,
butterfly, we're going to torture you now.
well, was the Dark Ages when they had like the witch trials? And they like
the witch. You're talking about the Salem witch trials.
Yeah.
Well, they probably did. I think they probably murdered a lot of witches back then.
But those witches
it was like
may have been just like speaking truths that
totally.
they didn't want to hear.
Well, there's a lot of speculation about that.
That might be another episode.
I think so. I think what they did was they were just like, you're too hot, and you had sex with like a few of the dudes, and we can't handle that. So you're getting started. I think it's probably like that. It feels like it had something sexual.
Well, I think they were also talking about stuff that they didn't like them to be talking about.
Oh, I had another epiphany.
Ooh, do tell.
So you know how we kind of talk about like the nature of the blue pilled subject, and that's kind of like leading to your demise,
right?
And you know how we talked about the La Brea tar pit?
Yeah.
And the La Brea tar pit's in LA, and it turns you into a bottomless pit. That's what LA. I think the blue pill turns you into a bottomless pit. And I think what does that do if you become a bottomless pit? I think it makes you immoral.
Oh, for sure.
Because morality suggests that you're not a bottomless pit. You have control over your appetites. And you say, no, I'm not just going to go have sex with her. She's married. And that's going to ruin their family. But like a blue-pilled person's just like, oh, it feels good. Oh, I don't care. I'm just going to come inside, make yourself a kid. Or whatever. But, like that's kind of the blue pill mentality.
Right.
Whereas the red pill's kind of like, no. There needs to be morality.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so wait, I had one more part of it. One more. Then what is like Jay-Z and Beyonce? There's like, do what thou wilt is the law. Remember? Have you seen this?
No.
So like that was Aleister Crowley. Remember, he's that guy that was doing all those blood, sex, sugar magic rituals.
Yeah, he was a weirdo.
He was like bald and fat and still having sex with like 18-year-old girls, which is probably gross for them. But anyways, he wrote this like treatise, like a treatise or like a polemical like document where he was like, this is my worldview. And his worldview was like, I worship Satan, and do what thou wilt is the law and the prophets, meaning do whatever you want. And to not do that is to deny your true self because you're a god. And I think the blue pill is kind of being like Aleister Crowley worshippers are like the ones mixing the blue pill and putting it out there. Totally. So it's got like that Aleister Crowley do what thou wilt, like kind of like that's one of the chemicals in the blue pill.
Yeah.
So it's like you're immoral and just do whatever you want.
Right.
Eat all you want, have sex with whoever.
Well, they're pushing that idea everywhere. So social media would be like the big place where they would push those ideas out there. Do whatever you want. And I think for like Instagram or whatever, I think that's a big thing. They don't want the red pill out there.
They don't want morality.
They don't want morality.
Morality's kind of like not really, because if
They
they
don't,
want you dead, they kind of want you to be immoral.
yeah, they don't want people to have even like social morals. So like, they're not going to instill those, and one of those is to let people speak freely. So
Yeah.
they're not letting people do that.
Yeah. Like, another function of the blue pill, a very blue pill behavior is abortion. Abortion is so blue pilled. It's like, I'm going to go out to the club. I'm just going to hook up. And then he's going to get me knocked up accidentally, but whatever. I'm just going to go take care of it. Like, they say, take care of it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Not be responsible beforehand.
yeah, I'm not even going to worry about it. And I've had a couple of those now, so it's no big deal. But like, I think that's kind of like the blue pill behavior. It's like, I'm completely immoral. All I do is just indulge in whatever like desire I have at the time, and there are no consequences. And if a baby is a consequence, I just eliminate that. And I think that's kind of like the blue pill mentality.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's the kind of mentality that social media is designed around.
They promote that.
Mm.
And if you even like say, have you noticed like that's one of the cult things? Like they had that one lady who was like going to Planned Parenthood, and she was kind of doing like you were doing with that guy. Remember, you were out there protesting and trying to tell the guy with his son, don't go get the pokey.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, that's interesting. Okay, come on, son. And then I never stop laughing, no matter how many times I tell that story. That's so hilarious.
This is like so moronic.
Check this out. And he's like, oh, I didn't know that. Interesting. Okay, well,
Check
come
this
on.
out. This might kill your child. Wow, I had no idea. Okay, come on, kid. Let's go.
I had no idea. That is really, really fascinating stuff. All right, well, have a nice day. Come on, son. Okay, so, and then I'm going to go to get the shot. Like the pharmacist when there's nothing in the inserts.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm having a nice day. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to work. So, anyways, it's kind of like that. They just go back to whatever they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even think twice about it. And the abortion thing is the same kind of way, where the lady was at the abortion clinic, and so the girl's going in to get an abortion, and she's going, hold on, come here. There's options. You can have the baby, give it up for adoption, or you can raise this kid. You can do the right thing. And there's other options too. Well, let's talk about it. Don't go do what you're about to do. And some of them were going, you're right. And she was turning them away. She got arrested and put in jail.
How is that illegal? I mean,
She
what's the
was
law that she was breaking? Was she trespassing or something?
I can't remember what like Stalin says, you show me the man, I'll show you the crime.
Right.
They'll come up with a crime.
Because that sounds like free speech to me.
Then they got really mad.
Mm-hmm.
So, like they have their like precious little institutions that you can't touch.
Mm-hmm.
Child sex trafficking and abortion, just shut up about that.
Right. Yeah. And talking about the cult, shut up.
Shut up about the cult. And stop calling us the cult.
Yeah. Actually, that post that I made about the cult, that got like the least amount of views.
Yeah.
They don't like that word either.
They don't like it. They don't like being called the cult because you know what? They're allergic to truth.
Because they're like, oh, it's like when the shoe fits, type of thing.
People who are on the blue pill, they have like a bad reaction to truth. It's like they break out from truth.
Yeah. It's like they get hives.
They get hives. It's
kind of get like shingles.
Can you get rid of I'm allergic to truth. It's kind of like when, like now, have you noticed like people can be allergic to a peanut, and it's like we have to have signs that say there might have been peanuts on the tray.
Oh my gosh, totally.
Like
we never had that problem when we were kids.
Like what if now you go in and like they're like, now please don't speak truth in here because people are allergic.
So true. It's so true. Totally.
So anyhow, I think it's really interesting because I noticed that you're so sweet and positive all the time. You're annoying.
Yeah, I have my limits.
Well, you know what you get annoyed by? Because I mean, you were born in America, right?
Yeah.
You're like an American.
Right.
I'm an American.
Yeah.
I think Americans are kind of like, wait a minute, especially if we've been living here from back in the good old days.
Yeah.
We're like, you don't tell me what I can say.
Yeah.
And you don't calibrate my opinion.
Right.
Have
you noticed that they've sort of brainwashed the younger generation, the millennials? Are they even called millennials anymore?
No, we have a new name for them.
Oh, yeah. What was our new name for them? Oh my god, it was so
The
good.
blue pill generation.
Yeah, the blue pill generation. Well, have you
Because
noticed?
all the millennials are totally blue pill.
Yeah, they don't have those same things and things, those same beliefs about like
They're the
having
one.
free speech or
Yeah.
like they don't that stuff isn't important to them. So
Like,
they're being brainwashed into this whole mindset of that it's fine on social media. They're not going to say anything against it anyway, but even if they did, they wouldn't really worry about it. They don't have
have you noticed like millennials don't strike me as incredibly moral people?
no,
They're kind of like, I have sex with whoever.
and they don't question anything.
Whatever.
They don't question it. They
No.
just go along with
Like,
whatever.
remember the dude at 31 Flavors? I always tell the story. And he's like, "Sir, you're not wearing your mask. You gotta leave." And I was like, dude, and I tried to get through to him. I tried to red pill him right there at the 31 Flavors counter.
So awesome.
I was like, dude, you, by what you're doing right now, you're ushering in tyranny. And what did he say to me? He's like, I don't care.
Right. Bring it on.
You don't care at all that you're ushering in tyranny? Like, no, you need to get out. I think they kind of just are so intoxicated on the power of being able to tell you, no,
Yeah.
3 samples is all you get. They love that so much that they're like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Plus, make the blue pill also kind of makes you oblivious to slippery slopes.
It totally does. Like, because like what we keep saying is, what you think is, not a problem today because it doesn't affect you. Well, 2 weeks from now, 2 years from now, what you're doing may be a problem.
Remember how I talked about being on a cruise ship
Mm-hmm.
and you're constantly eating?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like being drunk on a blue pill the whole time you're on the cruise ship.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a 10-day cruise, you're like blue pilled for 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
What if somebody came up and told like a 400-pound dude at the buffet, we just hit an iceberg and the ship is sinking? And I bet you he's just going to keep on eating.
Right.
He's just going to be like, well, I might as well just keep on eating at this point. You know,
Where's the next buffet?
like he's probably not going to go, where are the lifeboats? No, I don't care about the lifeboats.
Where's the roast beef?
I don't care. I don't care. I'm eating right now. I'm in my happy place.
Yeah.
I don't care about any data. No data matters to me. I kind of think that's how blue people are.
Totally.
No data
Yeah,
matters.
no.
No
it
data.
doesn't.
No data matters.
No,
I'm in Calgon. Take me away.
for sure. Oh my god.
I know.
So true.
So we're up against that.
Yeah.
We're up against that. That's what they want to turn us into.
Yeah.
But I think there's, especially now, what's cool is like if we were, let's say we had like a television show or like like public broadcast, we could only really find people kind of like in our county or in our area.
Yeah.
But what's cool about the internet is like people like in China could maybe hear us
I know.
potentially.
Right.
So
Yeah.
who knows who those 200 people are?
I know. Well, we've got people listening from like all around the country.
Yeah.
So that's pretty exciting.
So what I might suggest to our audience, because we kind of just talk to each other, but we very
Yeah.
rarely like address our audience
I know.
directly.
Well, I feel like we're talking to each other, but I always feel like, I want to include our audience as like, we're like cool friends that are hanging out, maybe
Yeah.
sharing like kind of the same cool ideas and
I want to hear
stuff
what you have to say.
and bouncing ideas back and forth.
Totally.
Yeah. So
Well,
there's something you want to say
to
directly?
the audience, what I would say is, of course, we're preaching to the choir.
Right.
We're being shadow banned.
Yeah.
The cult does not want us saying our stuff. So
They don't want to they don't want any other people to catch on to some of the same ideas
no.
or to know that there's other people out there like them. That's what they don't want. They want
So
you to feel isolated.
if you're feeling our show, if you're feeling us and you're like, I love these guys, they're saying, if we're speaking your language and you're resonating with our conversations, please share us manually with people that you know are your friends.
Yeah.
Because you know what I noticed is ever since the cooties, everybody's got like their little group of like 5 or 6 people that they just send. Oh, did you see this? Oh, here, you know?
Yeah.
So please, audience members out there listening, send us to like your friends that you know will at least like give us a shot.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to get organically, the algorithm is not organic.
The algorithm is not in our favor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're finding people just by, I think, by word of mouth. So yeah, if you have
You know what it
friends
feels like?
that would enjoy even, one or two episodes, share it.
Have you ever gone to IKEA?
Yeah.
Do you know how you can go get Swedish meatballs in like the little restaurant there?
Yeah. While you're shopping for furniture.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Mhm.
So what it kind of feels like when the algorithm doesn't serve you, it's like what if everybody is able to just go in and order their meatballs and go and they keep going through the line, but you're just like stopped right there just looking at the meatballs the whole time. And
You can't have it. You can smell them. They smell really good, but
yeah,
you can't have
and
any.
there's like an IKEA there's like an IKEA employee just like holding you there like, "Sir, wait. Sir, no, wait." And then they finally let you go when all the meatballs are gone.
Oh, what a drag.
Yeah, that's kinda what it feels like. We're
Yeah.
like, "No, no, no, okay, now, but doesn't matter."
Totally. Yeah. So it'd be cool if our listeners who are enjoying us would share
Yeah.
and follow.
Yeah, I don't wanna sound salesy. I don't
I
wanna
know.
sound salesy
Me
and
either.
because sometimes when you listen to people's
They're
podcasts
like and subscribe.
yeah, and
And so it feels like
it feels like a door-to-door salesman.
it actually feels like a thing that like all those big YouTubers always say that. It feels like maybe that's like one of the things they're told they have to do,
What if
like by
that's like the
YouTube.
blue pill? That
Yeah,
gets you in the spell.
totally. Like they have to say that, and then that keeps them in the club.
That's like
That
the
keeps them in.
pinch.
That's the pinch.
That's
The
remember
Sirhan pinch.
Sirhan gets
Yeah,
pinched, and then
yeah.
all of a sudden he
They're
goes
like
into
and
his
subscribe.
yeah. So he goes yeah. So like and subscribe when they say that.
They're like, oh,
Ding!
ding.
I'm in my blue pill
Okay,
mode.
yeah, totally.
I think that might be what's going on. So we don't want to say those keywords. We don't want to sound salesy. We're just kind of saying, hey, you know, we're being shunned, but we want to start a revolution.
Right,
So
totally.
please,
And a
like a
renaissance.
renaissance. If you think that we can bring about a renaissance and we can beat these people, then share it with your friends manually. That's how we're going to grow because otherwise, there's not going to be like a like and subscribe. There's going to be some Indian guy that goes, does not matter. Butterfly, it does not matter. They like and subscribe. We remove it.
They just got 1,800 likes. We
Yes,
erase.
we will delete your likes. And we will also unfollow anyone who follow you. So I don't know if we're going to be able to grow that way. The
Yeah.
only way we're going to be able to grow is just telling people about us
Hmm.
and kind of forming a bunch of like cool people.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of cool people that are like us.
We are the cool people.
I know.
That's the thing.
There's a lot of cool people out there. Totally. So I think yeah.
There's a lot of cool people who are wanting to go. Remember, we did that show like our dials go to 11.
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of people out there that want to turn their dials to 11 too. And
Totally.
they're kind of like sitting in like a blue pill bar,
Mhm.
waiting to leave and go deeper down the rabbit hole, but they want people to go with.
Right. We're the ones to go with.
So we're like going to walk into the blue pill bar and say, does anyone want to go deeper down the rabbit hole? And if you want to go with us, you can
Yeah.
go,
Yeah. That's totally it.
you know?
That's perfect.
So, anyways, I'm hoping that people will do that for us and try to help us to grow because I feel like, again, we're like a Chinese restaurant. We just want to serve good food
Hmm.
and then just have people tell their friends and family about
Yeah.
us.
And it seems like, different kind of different seeds work with different people. Like, it may be sort of
Yeah.
the same message, um, but like eight different people might be have different ways of sharing that message. And I feel like there's different ways that work with different people. So, some of our episodes might really resonate with some of your friends.
And here's another last parting thought. Um, Even people that disagree with us should probably support us because if they put the blue pill down, if they put the Kool-Aid down, they're going to realize that if you allow them to shut us up, they're gonna get the prison in place, and the prison's gonna suck for you too.
Right.
Even if you hate my guts, which probably there's some lesbians who do, if even if you hate my guts, then you still have to agree that you have to allow people to speak and
Right.
find their communities. Otherwise, we're toast. All of us are toast.
Yeah, I think it's really hard for a lot of people to realize that. But I think the importance of like people like us talking about this kind of thing is that we bring it to the forefront and we draw attention to that fact.
That's it.
And I think the more people who do talk about these things, the better it is for everybody. So hopefully this will, we're hoping our episodes will start conversations with people and maybe, bringing more attention to these issues.
And one other thing I want to say directly to our audience is if you guys are resonating with us, you are so cool. And I'm so stoked on
Totally.
you because I remember when we were protesting, when new people would come down to the protest and be like, blah, 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 blah. Because that's how they always are.
Yeah.
They come up and they go, did you see this? Did you see that? Did you see this?
Because they
And
were
they
just so
they're
excited to
so
find other
excited.
people that had the same opinions.
And it was so cool. It's so cool when because you're excited and these people are alive and
Yeah. They're
they're
not sleepwalking through life.
they're critically thinking about
Yeah.
what they're being told. And that is so awesome.
Yeah. It's so exciting.
Girls who are like that are so hot.
Yeah. Well, guys like that are hot too.
That's
So
right.
it's like,
We're the hotties.
yeah, not the naughties.
Not
Well,
the,
we're kind of the naughties
the
too.
kind of naughty,
Yeah.
but we're kind of moral.
Yeah.
Red pill, you kind of have to have morality because you're like, wait a minute, I don't want to be. It's kind of like the antithesis of the blue pill.
Totally. Yeah. Well, I think that was an awesome
I'm
talk.
so glad you. That was you. That was you bringing it up. You
Yeah.
know what it really came out of your frustration because as an American, how dare you
How dare you?
to quote Greta? How dare you?
All right. Well, I will talk to you
You
soon.
rock.
You rock.
I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.